a time-old argument that we've been hearing for the last 20 years, and it's a convenient political point scorer, but I think in reality it amounts to very little, because the values are inherently the same. If you're talking about Judeo-Christian values and Abrahamic faith traditions, it's it's very, very similar. But I echo pretty much everything Yanis has said there. But I would add, when we're looking at the Paris incident in particular, you'll notice that, I mean, the world media has really got on board with this, the tragedy of it, the horror of it, the randomness of it. It shocked us all. But when we view the issue and the conversation ensuing on terrorism purely through the Paris prism, we are forgetting the fact that there were days before that, an attack in Beirut. There was the downing of the Egyptair plane over Russia, the deaths in Nigeria, the deaths today in Mali, and of course the 147 Kenyan students who were killed in Garissa University. These are all victims of terror. These are all victims who require our response and reaction, but don't get the same attention. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, when you view this conversation on the victims of terror through the prism of Paris, what you're neglecting is that the majority of the victims of terror, the majority of those on the ground who are fighting terror, are Muslims, and a lot of them are refugees. And those refugees who are wanting to leave, who are trying to escape those very horrors that we have seen affecting people in Paris and in West, in New York, are realities that we need to say, well, what are we going to do about that? I know that since 1976, there have been 70,000 asylum seekers settled in Australia who arrived by boat. Not one of them has been found to have a link to terrorism. So the statistics speak for themselves, and we know that, you know, while 31 governor states in America have put up their hands and said no one's coming through our borders, President Obama has actually called that out as being a highly un-American issue. So, you know, there's some conflicting messages with leadership.
Tasneem, how do you then confront, and how does, let's say, the Muslim community in Australia confront the idea those young men and women who blew themselves up, who murdered innocent civilians, were acting on the instructions of people who took their cues from a perverted version of Islam?
It's a war of ideology, and how to grapple with that when those particular young individuals, we know, particularly with the perpetrator of Paris, we know that from his family, he wasn't someone who went to the mosque, went to the local community. He was a drug runner operating from his pub. So not your quintessential Muslim type of character by any stretch of the imagination. So then how to access those people becomes a question that we are grappling with too. So to then conflate those characteristics with the community is completely disingenuous.